Kurz looking clean with his whole sales team. We ain't come to talk nonsense, it's all about the process and profits. Until we make $1 billion from deposits. He never slacked and teach him to take action. So far from whacking, never gave up his passion. Can't catch him lacking, dapper down on his fashion. He forever stacking, running up all the cash in. Real estate mastermind, check out his book, he gave us the blueprint. Really can't hate the grind, put in the work, no making excuses. Quitting's a waste of time, you made it this far, don't make your life useless. Pull up and taste the wine, he got the flavor, mixing the juices.
Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of the David Adam Kurz Show. Now, we are making shifts. We've been talking about this for a minute. We're going to take you guys and shift you to the Freedom Achiever podcast. Now, the Freedom Achiever podcast has been in operation for a very long time. We've, actually done over 200 podcasts with the Freedom Achiever podcast. However, like I mentioned to you before, it got boring. So we wanted to create some more exciting conversations with more exciting people. So I'm excited to bring Kelli to the stage. Kelli Davidson's joining me today. Kelli, what's up? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Awesome. So Kelli's a superstar pro in South Florida. She lives in the Palm Beach area. So if you're looking for a real estate agent in the Palm Beach area, Kelli's who you want to go to. But stay tuned for the entire podcast so you can really like her even more. And at the end of this, you'll send her all your business, right? Bring it. Kelli, what's going on, man? How you doing?
What's going on? I'm good. How are you? I haven't seen you in a while.
I know it's been a minute. First of all, thank you for doing the podcast with me. I think it's pretty awesome. You're the first episode of this new shift we're doing in conversations, which is really fun and exciting because we know each other. So I feel like I could probably go a little deeper with you, which would be exciting.
It must have been our Michigan trip together. We bonded, and so you're like, okay.
Well, first of all, I want to speak about Michigan, but we're gonna get into Michigan a little bit. I might write that down because we're gonna talk about Michigan in that damn trip. So just to give everybody a little bit of concept of who you are and what you do, break it down for us. Who's Kelli? Where are you working out of? What do you do? Tell me about your team. Rock it out.
Yeah. So I have a team. I live in Boca, so East Boca, and I have a team of 7. I got married not quite 2 years ago. I have 5 kids, 3 stepdaughters, 2 grandbabies, a grandbaby on the way.
Wow.
They're in Michigan, so it's pretty busy. So I moved to Florida back in June of 2019. Got licensed in Florida. I was licensed in Michigan. Got licensed in Florida in September of 2019. So business started picking up, and then COVID hit, and then we had to re-back it up. And then, hit the ground running once everything opened back up, and here we are.
Did you stay in Florida during COVID, or did you take a step back to Michigan?
Why would I go to Michigan during COVID?
Yeah, I'm just curious because I know some people are crazy. I want to see if you were that level crazy. So
No, I moved to Florida for a reason. And it was cold back then. I'm like, I enjoyed the sunshine. I enjoyed getting on my bike, driving on my bike down the A1A, stopping at the restaurants that set tables up outside, got a margarita to go, and ride my little beach cruiser with my margarita, looking at the sun and the ocean and the palm trees. I'm like, Michigan has nothing.
I think I personally look like no offense to any other state out there, but I truly believe that Florida creates happier people. It just, you know what I mean? I travel a lot. I speak around the country, and that's been honestly my travel lately. And I even do we do road trips. We did a road trip with the kids for the summer. We did, my wife and I did a motorcycle ride around the country, in 2020 when COVID hit. And, so we've seen a lot of the country, and I really feel like Florida creates happy people. It's got to be the sun, the ocean, the salt. I don't know what it is. A combination of all, by the way, because even California has sun, ocean, and salt. But it's not the same.
No, it's not the same. I was a flight attendant. My ex-husband was Marine Corps, like yourself. So we lived in several states, and nothing ever felt close to home. Me personally, nothing ever felt close to home as in Florida. I never felt like I belonged in Michigan or some of the other states. And it was like when I come down here to Florida, especially this side of Florida, the city life, the ocean, the palm trees, the sunshine, it was just this full mixture of everything I was looking for, and it felt like home.
So, dude, we had a lot of meetings with people in Michigan, you and I, which was really interesting, and then those meetings, like they felt really good when they were happening, and then later on down the line, a lot of people fell off. Is Michigan typically kind of like that? I don't know. What's the word that I'm looking for? Are people in Michigan usually that finicky?
Well, you gotta understand, like the Midwest people, right? Midwest people, they live in a Midwest bubble. They know what they know, and they don't really think outside that bubble. I mean, it's my roots, but it's the truth, right? Especially like where I come from, the west side of Michigan. Everybody knows what they know. But step out of comfort zones is something very scary for people. I mean, like I listen to them all winter long talk about like how they hate the snow, they hate the weather, it's gloomy, they're miserable, right? But do you think they would ever move? No, right? I mean, they just only know what they know, and God bless them, right? So I think it's a scary move when they're so used to something, and then they have to step out that comfort zone and try something new. It's just, I think most people can't fathom that or know that.
Right. So why don't people leave? Like I'm born and raised in New York, right? And so when I we have like really great summers, but our summers what, like fucking 8 weeks or some shit like that, and then the rest of it, like some people like the fall, they like to see the trees with the brown on them, and like I'm just not, that's not me, that's not my thing, you know what I mean? Winter could kiss my ass all day long. Like I just do not care for the cold.
It's cold right
I
now
don't
in Florida, and I'm like, F you.
Yeah, man. I honestly, like, I don't even, I want none to do, like people, there's certain people that like skiing and stuff like that. My wife and I, for our honeymoon, we decided we were going to go to Vail, Colorado, and I attempted to snowboard. I am like putting a one-legged cow on a snowboard. Like it just doesn't work, bro. And I stood on that snowboard and I fell so many times that I was just like, and I'm committed. Like when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So I fell for like 2.5 hours, like just from the back to the front, from the back to the front, from the back to the front, And finally, I looked at my wife and I was like, "Yo, I'm over this. Like there is a hot tub and a drink with my name on it. Like what are we doing up here? It's freezing. We're buttoned up to the T. I got pictures of icicles in my beard. Okay." And I'm like, why are we so miserable right now? I'm like been falling for 2.5 hours and I got icicles in my beard. Let's go get a
grass.
Like let's go somewhere, man. And so it was it's just not my thing. So leaving, I left New York when I was in high school. My mother and my stepfather got divorced, so we ended up coming to South Florida. And I left the Marine Corps for 9 years. When I got out of the Marine Corps, you think I went back to New York? Like, no. And I love New York. Kudos to New York. But I treat New York like I treat Vegas. I got a 3-day maximum. That's it. 3-day max. Like I have zero business being there any longer than 3 days. I go, I do what I'm supposed to do.
Let's spend a week in Michigan. I'm like, you're crazy. We got a long weekend. I'm not
yeah.
There's no way.
We ended up spending we spent almost a week there, but we were pretty busy. Like we were, we were working and meeting people and stuff like that. And then, there was always like the light at the end of the tunnel that we would be back on a plane back to South Florida. But listen, if you're from Michigan listening to this, I love you, man. Kudos to you. You like you, I like me. We're in this together, but not together. You know what I'm saying? So,
we're not freezing our butts off and living in cloudy skies, most of the year, but we still love you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it is what it is. It's like Seattle. They say, Seattle's like the #1 suicide capital of the United States because of the weather and the gloominess all the time. Why do people choose to live there?
Quite honestly, my last year in Michigan, there were days I didn't even want to get out of bed because it was so cold and so gloomy. And the only reason I got out of bed was because I had to take my kids to sleep. And then I lay there contemplating maybe they should just stay home today. But then I would realize, no, they'll just drive me batshit crazy. So I would literally drag myself out of bed to get them to school. That was literally, and then my entire business instead of like prospecting every day like I should have been, I was watching YouTube videos of Florida and the ocean and like getting my life together to move down here. That was the last year in Michigan. I just couldn't. I was like in survival mode to even finish out my last year.
So, I want to tap into some further stuff with you. What's the real estate market for you?
What's the real estate market for me?
Yeah, how is it for you? Like, how's it treating you right now?
It's good. I mean, my team's doing pretty well. We get a lot of leads coming through. You know, January is always kind of stable. I mean, at least it's always been in my business. You know, I mean, people at the end of the year trying to get all these closings in December, get through the holidays, and January kind of is stale, and February picks up. So we're looking towards, you know, like spring. But, you know, we ramped up. We're doing a lot of doing nothing. We're doing our postcard campaigns, you know, when we get leads. So, you know, it's just.
I can't hear you that well, so you might have to speak up a little bit.
Oh, gotcha. Is that better?
All right. Yeah, that's better.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, I mean, business is good. Like I said, I mean, a lot of leads are still coming through, you know, but you got to nurture them. You got to nurture those leads.
People are still active. People are still active in the market, right?
I mean,
I get a lot of people that
55 new leads yesterday. So,
yeah,
you got to follow.
I get a lot of real estate agents. Obviously, you know, I coach for a living. So I get a lot of real estate agents that come to me and they blame the market, right? And so what you're telling me is that it's not the market. Like, there's plenty of people out there looking for homes.
You got to find the deal, right? So that's what I say to my team. You know, real estate isn't something that falls on your lap. A lot of people get sidetracked and watch, you know, HGTV or the reality shows, and they think that we're going to be $1 million listing agents and look up for that.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't fall in your lap. You have to chase the business. The business isn't going to chase you, right? So, I mean, and whether that's if you don't, I know a lot of people don't like cold calling. I don't like cold calling. I was trained cold call, but nobody likes to sit there and cold call. If that's not your thing. Think of other things. Go sit at a spot. Go make a restaurant a really daily spot and go hit happy hour and start talking to the servers, the bartenders, the regulars that come in. You know, do a donut, do postcards, you know, do something, but you have to face the business. You can't just sit on the couch and watch Dr. Phil and then just think that your phone's going to ring off the hook.
You can't do that. You can't watch Dr. Phil.
Well, maybe in the background, right? As you're cold calling. No offense to Dr. Phil. I love you, Dr. Phil.
Yeah, I mean, okay, like, you know, I love Dr. Phil, but, you know, it is what it is. I get you.
Sometimes I get sucked in and I'm scrolling through Facebook and they have the Dr. Phil reel.
Phil, where that girl got famous for saying, "Cash me outside."
She lives in Boca. She's selling her house.
Yeah, so I was tripping out about that the other day because, you know, I was laughing with my kids. We were talking about one of my kids is having her sweet 16, and I was telling her that they should do some like crazy cool like kind of dance at the end of the waltz that they're gonna do, right? And I go, waltz is pretty and everything, but at the end of the dance, you should like break it down and have some fun, you know? And so she was like, "Oh, I don't know. We're gonna be the laughing stock. We're gonna end up going viral for being silly." And I was like, "Well, what's wrong with that? You saw this girl cash me outside?" You know, I was like, how much is she selling her house for in Boca?
I think it's $7. She bought it for like $6 something and selling it for like $7 right here in Boca.
$7 million.
Yeah, she was at the bowling.
Yeah.
So my oldest son worked at the bowling alley out on Meisner a while back, and she'd come in there in the bowling alley. And she was in there one night when I went in there, and she's just this young kid, and she's selling a house for $7 million.
I know. Where'd she make this money? I want to go on Dr. Phil, man.
We should all go on Dr. Phil. I think
That's
every
like
real
the key,
estate
right?
agent should have a turn on Dr. Phil. I think we all.
Oh my God, bro. I want to go on Dr. Phil and Oprah. I feel like if I get both of those, I'm a guaranteed billionaire. You know what I mean? like, it's a guarantee. I could do nothing for the rest of my life.
That's
and
right.
people are going to follow me on social media. I can just get paid for my Instagram and my YouTube, man.
But don't go on Maury. Don't go on Maury. That's going to take it. The Dr. Phil.
Yeah, that's going to, yeah. No Jerry Springer. No Jerry Springer. You know, New World Title did a commercial with Jerry Springer. You know that?
No kidding.
Yeah, it was hilarious. It was hilarious. Jerry Springer gets on, and at the end of the commercial, he goes, "By the way, for everybody watching this, I've vetted New World Title, and for sure, that they're an excellent title company because they've never been on my show.
That's hilarious. Rest his soul. People used to think my dad looked like Jerry Springer. You met my dad. When my dad was thinner, they're like, "Oh, your dad looks like Jerry Springer."
That's hilarious. That's hilarious, man.
He's
So
probably
you know,
he's probably as dirty and filthy minded as Jerry too, which is scary.
which is scary. Yeah, I met your dad. He was kind of quiet. I think I was new to the scene, so he was like, you know, being a little more careful than he probably would have been in normal.
Well, he'll be
know?
here tomorrow, so if you hit the town with him tomorrow, it might be a little bit more.
That's all smart of him, by the way, coming down here to visit.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yo, so what do you say to real estate agents that are constantly complaining about the market?
I mean, stop complaining and just be a doer, right? Don't be a complainer, just be a doer. Like, you know, my biggest thing, and my husband will tell you, like, I go on tangents sometimes because I listen to people say, I can't do it, or, you know, they have a million excuses. Excuses are like, you know, what do you know, I'll do it, right? Everybody has.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The reality of it is just go do it. You know, my background is I was a single mom of 5 kids, and I had a dog, and my daughter's with special needs. I picked up a 24-foot U-Haul, not knowing a soul down in South Florida. Moved my entire family and worked at a restaurant 8 shifts a week and doubled on Sundays while I was getting licensed down here. It started from scratch. I didn't know a soul. My first contract in Florida, I mean, I was used to Michigan, the 6 little page contracts there. I mean, Florida's 12. They don't teach you that stuff in real estate school. I looked at the first half of this contract and I said, how the hell do I fill this damn thing out? I did it. I got through it. I got the deal and closed my first, you know, almost $600,000 deal in South Florida, just, you know, a couple months in. And so when everybody says, I can't do it, or it's hard, or they complain, there's always somebody out there that has it much worse than me, right? So get on the other side of stuff and say, you know what, pick your shit up, brush yourself off, grab the fucking life by the balls, and say, I've got this shit. Because if you have the roll me attitude, that's what's going to hold you down. I think people themselves are their biggest enemies, right? If they get out of their own way, then they're okay. And we all have that every once in a while. I get in my own way. You know, I sometimes have to pick myself up, make this call again or do this. It's easy to fall out of that. But the reality of it is we have to get out of our own heads and just get this shit done. Because nobody else is going to do it for you except for you.
Right. And I'm glad that you said it that way, man. And thank you for, by the way, giving us a little bit of a historic kind of look at why you say that, because I've met a lot of people that just say, you got to do it, but they haven't like really had the struggle, right? They're regurgitating what other people say, and rather than, you know, creating their own stories, you know, and telling their story. And so appreciate you telling your story. Like, I think it's important for people to know that the success they see now was built on a mountain of shit, you know, like it was struggle, it was pain, it was sacrifice, like you name it. You said it. You're a single mom with 5 kids working double shifts.
When my triplets were 8 weeks old, I had 8-week-old triplets, a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. I was a flight attendant when I married my ex-husband. Because of 9/11 and all the wars he kept deploying, I stayed home with the kids while he was off in Iraq and wherever he was at. We ended up getting a divorce. Again, 8-week-old triplets. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. I had babies now, right? So, and if anybody ever, you know, gets divorced and they're used to the court system, it took 3 or 4 months before I got child support. I had to go and hustle. I worked at a bar till 3:30 in the morning. I got home just in time for the triplets to get up for a meeting. My mom stayed with them, bless her soul, and then maybe slept for an hour before the alarm went off, and I had to get my 7-year-old off the first grade. You know, you do what you got to do. And back then, that was 2008, so it wasn't like, you know, wasn't licensed yet in Michigan. The market was crap back then. So I got through some of that and then realized, hey, I worked in restaurants and $1 billion a week, and then I was like, you know, I really want to do real estate. And everybody wants to do real estate until they realize how hard it is. But I knew if I was going to do real estate and I was going to do it, this is what I had to do to make a living. I was going to do it, and I was all in. So everybody has a story, right? It's just a matter of overcoming that story and, you know, grabbing it by the ball, like I said, and doing it.
I'm interested to know because, you said your husband was in the military, he was in the Marine Corps, right?
Yeah.
And then he went off to Iraq, 9/11, all that craziness happened.
Yeah.
He comes back. Where were you guys living at the time where you kind of decided to get divorced?
So we were in San Diego, based in San Diego, and that's when he kept getting deploying. And then we're like, no more deployments. So he actually did recruiting duty. And when he did recruiting duty is actually kind of when we got divorced. And I said, you know what, maybe we should have done another tour.
I was like, now you had to deal with them at home. Oh no.
Yeah, they work a gazillion hours, those guys. So, but yeah, I mean, so it is what it is. We were in Indiana at the time. And so,
So you ended up having to pick up. So, yeah. And the reason I asked this is, you went from San Diego to Indiana. He was on recruiting duty. You guys decided to get divorced. Now you got to pick up with kids and go to Michigan because that's where your support system is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so your support system kicks in and now you're working, you're bartending, you're double shifting, you're doing this, you're doing that, anything you do to survive. You get your real estate license and now you're fucking all in. Now you're like, this is it for me. Why real estate?
I think like I had the thought, quite honestly, like everybody had the thought, oh, you can make your own hours. It's good money, right? Until you do it. And then you realize you're not really making your own hours, but
surprise.
Surprise, right? But that was kind of it, because I had that theory that everybody else had. And but you quickly learn you don't make your own hours. There were many times I was on showings and, my kids were in the back of my car watching a movie while I'm running into a house or, scheduling showings around picking them up from school or, you're working late at night, you're doing contracts late at night. So it really wasn't, the easy ride that you think it is going to do. But, when you're all in, the money was good. So that's what it provided me. And my kids are not the only pain in the butt. As you can probably hear my dog in the background. So when you're working from home, if the kids are at school, you still got a dog that's a pain.
You still got a dog that's going to make noise in the background. Did you talk to him and say, listen, I'm doing an interview right now? So, dude, now you're in Florida. You leave Michigan. Now you're in Florida. You're running a team down here.
Yep.
And you guys are doing fantastic. You're with LPT Realty.
Yep.
And you're doing pretty fantastic. You're rocking and rolling with that. Like, tell me about, I guess, your transition to LPT, what you expected and what you feel like you're winning at.
So my transition to LPT, it was kind of scary. Sorry, I'm looking at my dog out.
No, you're good.
It was kind of scary because, I'm a very faithful person. So, my brokerages that I were always with, I was always with them for 4 or 5 years, and you know what you know. And this was the first time that, I was like, man, what do I do? Because I'd been with my brokerage for 5 years. I was actually down here and I was partnered up with a gentleman in Michigan, and we kind of started the team in Florida together. But I was kind of like not feeling what was going on. There was more that I wanted. And it was funny because you were all over the internet with LPT. And I'm like, what the heck is going on with this LPT thing? If David Kurz is like, has LPT all over, I've got to figure out what it is. So I called you and, we did the Zoom and then I went down to Miami. But once I saw it, it was kind of like, this is the right move for me. So it was scary. And then I had to go to the team and say, hey guys, I'm leaving. Like I'm moving brokerages. And I didn't expect anybody to follow me. I thought I'd come over to LPT as a solo agent. And these agents were going to stick with my old partner because, they had 50, 60,000 leads in the system. They were, working with people. We were established. Like, they're not going to come with me to start from scratch again. And lo and behold, they said, Kelly, you're the one on the ground with us every day. We're going to move with you. So I was like, great, I'm at LPT. I have a team that just transitioned with me. Like, let's get the ball running. And I literally started from scratch all over again. So we went from having 0 leads in our system, a brand new system from Sierra to Chime and all of this new stuff. And everybody.
So you had another breakup.
I had another, we had a lot of breakups this year, a lot of breakups in my life. So, but everybody stuck with me, and we started with zero, got all of the systems going, and here we are. We just hit our 1-year anniversary, January 26th. And let me tell you, it's been an amazing ride. I'm so glad we did it. And LPT has been amazing. And my agents are happy, and we feel like we've been given more. And we feel like we're given what we really were looking for in some of the other brokerages.
That's awesome, man. That's really good to hear. I feel like, oftentimes when you transition into a new company that provides so much stuff, you feel uplifted. So you end up doing more business, right? Instead of being stagnant where you were, which, by the way, you could have done the same thing anywhere, right? Like at the end of the day, it's all about Kelli Davidson, right? And so, the win is within you. And we can already see from this interview that the tenacity that you have, you're going to win no matter what. Like your goal is to win and succeed no matter what,
Yeah.
And by the way, if you ever forget that shit, like sit down and think about everything you went through.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't have a choice. And that's what I tell people, you don't have a choice. You just do it. Right. And you know what? And then you keep getting back up. But like you said, our brokerage provides us with stuff that makes us want to go further and makes us want to do more. And that's what I love about our culture that we have, is everybody's uplifting. I mean, we didn't really know each other. I knew you through social media, and you were so welcoming, right? I mean, you were like message me, yeah, dude, let's do this. Get on the Zoom with me, and then come down to Miami. And right away, I mean, you gave me a great big hug when we first met in person. And everybody in the community is so welcoming and uplifting, and everybody wants to help everybody. And that's the way that it should be. Nobody ever really, doesn't want to help somebody because they're not in the right downline, or, they're not connected in a certain way. It's like, hey, how can we help? We're here to help. And that's the way it should be in every company and with everybody. And that's truly what we have found. And I'm so thankful for that.
That's awesome. All right. So let's spin off a little bit. What is Kelli like? So I was going to say, what's Kelli 2.0, but it's not even 2.0. You're like at fucking version 7 right now. So what's Kelli 7.0 right now? Like, what is the next move for you, your family, mentally, physically, business? Like, where are you, 18 months from now?
18 months from now, I'm going to be driving a Bentley SUV. Like, are you kidding me?
Which, by the way, driving a Bentley SUV it helps mentally. You feel really good about yourself, feel confident, right? It helps in your business because you gotta actually do business to be able to pull off getting a Bentley SUV.
I'm not gonna rent it. I'm actually gonna buy it.
Good, man.
So, no, I have goals. So we, I sat down with the team in November, and we worked on our commitments, our goals of what we're going to do. And we have some really big stuff in store this year. Like I said, we partnered up with a charity that we're doing door knocking with. We started a lot of new campaigns. I would love to grow the team. It's about finding the right people for the team, though. I just don't want to bring people in and then, it not work out. So it's finding the right people. And, you had given great advice on that. As us team leads, when we're interviewing, new people for the team, it's always about what we can give the agent, but we never stop to say to the agent, like, what can you do for us? What can you do for the team? I know what I provide you. What are you going to do for me? So that's been my new concept too, with a lot of these interviews and people that I'm talking to, because if I don't see the passion or the hustle in them, then they're just not for my team. Right. And that might work for somebody else, but I just need somebody with passion, hustle, grit, and grind. So that's really where we're at with the business. I just want to see it grow. I want to see it evolve, and expand maybe a little bit. I have some agents a little bit further north that have asked about joining the team, but, wrapping my head around putting leads up there is, kind of on the back burner.
It's a different thing. Yeah. It's not your market. It's not your network.
Right. Absolutely. So that's where I'm at. The kids, my oldest moved out last year, so we got one gone. My middle one is thinking of moving to Arizona this year. So that will be another one that bites the dust. And then I got 3 left. So, people say don't wish it away, but I'll tell you what. Woo.
It's like, life's funny, man. I think, you know, when your desire is to build a family, you can't wait to have kids, you know. And I think you get to a certain point of having them all that you go, I can't wait to be an empty nester. Like, I'm like,
that's exactly it. People say don't wish it away. I'm like, wait a minute. And as they get older, it's so much more fun. Like my older kids, like my 22-year-old, I love like when he hangs out with us and we go drinking, and you know, my 19-year-old will be 20 and he's now really cool and I like him now, you know. So,
he's a little bit of an asshole for a little while, but he's good now. That's awesome.
It's more fun being like,
but I know what you mean.
Kids.
I know. Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel like I have two girls that are older. You know, one is 27, one is 24. She just turned 24, and they're cool to hang out with. They're cool to chill with. They're cool to have conversations with. It's different, you know. They're your babies, but they're also adults, you know.
Exactly.
And
I don't have to wipe a butt anymore. You know, they're not sitting on the toilet yelling for you, Mom.
Yeah.
My butt.
Yeah. And then there's and then the little ones are 13 and 15, but they're like, I don't know, man. I don't know how to explain it. Like they're super chill. You know what I mean? Like they're really down to earth. You know, it's almost like sometimes you feel like you're talking to two adults, you know, because they're pretty mature for their age. But then at the same time, you got to kind of remind yourself, wait a minute, there's only so many conversations I'm having with you, kid. Like, you know, chill out, you know? Yeah. And it's really interesting. You know, my 15-year-old has a boyfriend now. Yep. You know? So, you know, that's been a mental shift and transition. You know, my 24-year-old just moved out with her boyfriend. I'm like, what's going on, man?
I know.
You
it's
know?
like all the I know it's fun to watch kids as they're little and the transitions in each stages.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and
it's crazy. And it's like moved out, got her own place, they're making dinner and shit.
My girls
you know?
are pain in my butt. My girls drive me crazy. I mean, because they're identical twins, right? But they fight all the time. They pull each other's hair. They scream at each other every morning. It's like this whole big scene of like.
How old are they now?
They're 15.
Dude, kudos to you for having 3 15-year-olds. You know, that's
the boy's
insane.
Chill though. He got a job. He works at Haagen-Dazs. He makes his own money.
I mean, he's good. He's like 20, right? He's good. You know?
He's 15. Yeah, and the 20, you know, they all work. So
that's okay,
you know, and they always say to me, you know, they get mad because they don't feel like I'm empathetic. Is that the right word to say? Or sympathetic? I don't know what you want to say.
Yeah.
No, I am hardcore with my kids. Like, I don't give them any like leeway on anything. Like, I am the first person to get on their shit and ride them hard and just, and they don't understand. Like, you know, they come to me and they really want to talk to me about, oh, you know, like my 20-year-old just got a new job at the new El Camino in Boca. And he was really accustomed to like not working late because the other restaurants like Louis Bossi and stuff, they close early. So he's like, oh, I don't know. They close at like 2 in the morning and I won't get out till 3. I'm like, who gives a shit? I work till 3:30 in the morning with newborns and you at home at 4 years old. Like, you're not getting sympathy for me. Go get your ass to work. You know? They think I'm like the most horrible thing because I have no like, oh, it's okay. I'm like, no, get your shit together.
I think that's the problem with parenting today is that, you know, we're too fucking soft, man. Well, I don't say we, not us, not me and you, but parents out there, they've got way too soft. They're way too concerned. You know, kids can't walk nowhere. Kids can't go anywhere. Kids can't play. Kids can't go outside. Kids go get hurt. Kids go get kidnapped. Kids are, like, everything is like a danger. And parents are so coveted and overprotective of their kids that they're hurting them in the long run.
1,000%. And everything is everybody else's fault except for the kids' fault. You know, like we learned to grow up and respect teachers, and my kids, they know, like, they better call their teachers ma'am and sir, and you know, they better have respect. And I always tell my kids, if I get a call from the school, your ass is on the line because I'm going to believe them over you, right? For the most part, you know. But the reality of it is, parents today don't do that shit, and it's like, you gotta realize your kid's an asshole.
They don't do it. You know, parents are not checking their kids. You know, they're relying on the school system to teach them, and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and And they're getting the result of that, by the way. They're the ones who are going to suffer the result of that. And these poor kids, they have no direction at home and no stern direction, I should say. You know, I believe in the stern parenting. I believe in being tough on your kids because life is not fucking easy. So if they got it easy for the first 18, 19 years of their lives, it's going to be a fucking shocker when they go out there to the real world, you know? And these kids, you know, and these kids sometimes, you know, listen, I've had, you know, my kids tell me, oh, you know, I know what it's like to suffer, and I've been through this and I've been through that. I'm like, man, you got no idea, bro. Your suffering just started. You just started, bro. You know what I mean? Like it's like, guess what? For the rest of your life, life will happen. It'll happen in good times and it'll happen in bad times. It is what it is. And you need to learn. You need to learn how to absorb this. That's why we got so many anxiety cases and this and that and blah, blah. And, you know, and medication and doctors and therapy sessions and fucking group sessions. And dude, like, what happened to us?
Of what is a timeout sitting in the wall for 5 minutes going to do for you or something? Like, I grew up with, like, my dad would get the leather belt out and crack the leather, belt. And I'd be like, come on, you know, everybody says that's child abuse these days, to each its own. But the reality of it is, children should be scared in a way of their parents. They should be scared of the result of, like, oh shit, if I do this and I'm wrong, I'm going to be in trouble. And that fear today is gone in kids.
Yeah, kids are not afraid of their parents anymore. I've seen, listen, my girls are in volleyball. And it's funny because I'm the tougher parent out of me and my wife, but my kids are more scared of my wife than they are of me. You know? And I think it's because she's the quiet one, you know? And so like for her to flip out, like things have had to pile up for a minute, you know? And, but man, you know, we live in this world where we go to these volleyball games sometimes and I see the way these kids talk to their parents. And I look at my kid and I was like, I dare you. I dare you. Don't let that shit be contagious. I dare you.
Everybody, they don't even obey the law these days. They don't, you know, they think they can get away with everything. They don't obey the law. They don't talk to their parents. We have, like, this generation of kids, they're a bunch of hellions because they get away with a lot of shit.
Very true. Very true.
And it's scary. And my kids know I will whoop their asses if, you know, they ever do anything wrong, or, you know, somebody comes to me and tells me what my children are doing wrong. I'll be, like I said, the first person to say, what the heck did you do?
Well, there's that. And then, of course, there's the whole fact that you're teaching your kids how to say yes, ma'am, and no, sir. And that might be a problem, too, in America. So,
not enough people hold the doors anymore. I'll tell you a funny story real quick. We were in Aldi, and it was my 19-year-old. He was, I don't know how old he was at the time, but we were going through the register and he wanted a beef jerky, a Slim Jim. So I gave it to him and he was asking the cashier if, you know, she could leave it out of the bag and he could hold it. He's like, excuse me, ma'am. He's like, can I hold that? And she says, sure, if you don't call me ma'am. And I think the lady was probably in her late 20s, early 30s. And she saw it as a sign of he was calling her old. And I said to her, I'm sorry, my children just are raised to respect people and call them ma'am and sir, right? And so it's funny because it's like, she took it as this like thing of being
like if she had to be 70 years old in order to be a ma'am.
Yeah, it's just a respect.
No, ma'am, really you just need to be a ma'am. You know?
I was bad when my kids were little. I even made them call me ma'am at some point. My mom's like, why do you make them call you ma'am? I got out of that.
Why not?
At some point,
but that's where the training begins, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right. The training begins at home. The effort comes from home. The power comes from home. The confidence comes from home. The strength comes from home. Home is, you know, listen, I'm a big believer in the nuclear family and the home values and all that great stuff. Like I think that's important in any culture. You know, and look, I talk pro-America a lot. It's important in America. We need to bring that back in America. But there's another part to it where just look at any culture where family is massively important, and the culture is a thriving culture. You know, and so you know, man, we need to get back to some of the stuff you're saying, and I'm saying, and hopefully people pick up on that. If anything from this podcast, they'll pick up on tenacity. They'll pick up on just get shit done. You know, and they'll pick up on the fact that you know, if you train your kids at home and you make it habitual for them to do the right thing, they will do the right thing without you in public. You know,
and I'm not saying my kids are perfect by any means. Believe that is the farthest thing from the truth is. I know you probably
no one is, though. No one is.
But you know what? It's like when they go to other places, there are people, you know, say, "Man, your kids are so polite," or "They're so respectful," or like the school to say, "Man, your kids are polite." Then you know you did something right at home.
Right. Right. Well, Kelli, man, thanks for doing this podcast with me. I appreciate you. Yeah. I think this was a really cool, fun, conversation. We talked about work. We talked about Michigan. We talked about Florida. We talked about, the struggles. We talked about your balance. We talked about being a single mother of 5 kids and making it happen anyway, the success of you and your team. And we even talked about some parenting, because I think if anybody's going to get some parenting advice, it probably should be from a woman who struggled her ass off with 5 kids and made it to the top, And
so I have to do a plug-in before we go, because my husband will be mad if I don't plug him in and say love to my husband for stepping in and helping with 5 kids. And bonita.
I love it. I love it. So for those of you that don't know, Kelly's husband is a fellow Puerto Rican like me. And so we instantly became brothers when we met. And tell him I said hello, will you?
I will do that. Thank you, David.
All right. Thanks, Kelli, for doing this with me.